Welcome to Shardcast, the Brandon Sanderson podcast. We're a bunch of mega fans of Brandon Sanderson, giving you the news, analysis, and discussion of all of Brandon's work and the Cosmere. I'm Eric, and joining me is Ian.
Hey, I'm WeiryWriter.
Also joining me, someone who does not know how time zones work, is Ben.
I'm Overlord Jebus.
And he doesn't know how daylight savings time works, so...
No. Look,
I
okay.
did all the math perfectly for what you told me your time zone was.
Daylight savings is a load of rubbish. I figured I'm in the time zone with Greenwich in it. So Greenwich Mean Time should always be Greenwich, like this whole British Standard Time. Sorry, British Summertime.
British Summertime,
we have
as we just realized.
We have one day of summer. Greenwich is always in England. We should always be in Greenwich Mean Time, none of this British summertime.
I'm learning a lot about British time zones today, so are you. Everyone knows that, Eastern goes to EDT, Eastern Standard Time is EST. Well, in America.
I like how I knew more about British time zones than Jebus did.
But we're in the middle of the map. We are the center. We are the zero. And when we shouldn't ever become
France,
one.
Right
we
south
should always
of you
be zero.
is an hour plus. It doesn't make any sense.
None of this makes sense. Daylight savings should burn in a fire.
Something Brexit.
Like Venli.
All right, let's go on to the news, which there's none. So, is there news?
No.
Okay, great. Moving on.
As of this point in time, there is no news.
This will be Thursday. We'll be fine. So today, guys, we're gonna do another character podcast about another contentious character because it's gone great the last two times. Actually, the Motion one was pretty well received, but we're gonna talk about Venli, and we can't talk about Venli without talking about Eshonai.
Yes.
And there's been lots of opinions on Eshonai's death and Venli and all of that.
Should I just stray out? I'll say what my position is.
Yeah, it is just yeah.
I was heartbroken when Eshonai died, and I was in complete denial that she was dead. And I am very unhappy that it seems like Venli has just usurped her storyline. And because I really don't like Venli, and I really don't like Venli, I really do not like this character.
Well, I love Venli, so we're gonna talk about that.
Yes, yeah.
So wait, first. Oathbringer spoilers. Eshonai's dead. Hey.
Oh yeah, sorry. Eshonai died.
Yeah, you know. So let's talk about what Eshonai and Venli were up to prior to this book.
Yes,
they were part of the Pershendi fighting
the listeners.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Fighting the Alethi on the Shattered Plains. Venli discovered, air quotes, storm form.
Yep.
Eshonai decided to test storm form and turned evil.
Great plan.
Yeah. Which pretty much led to the Everstorm and a whole bunch of bad stuff.
It's
and
a little bad.
Most of the listeners being slaughtered.
Yeah.
And then Eshonai dies.
Yep. Eshonai fell in a ditch and she's dead. That's what we learned in very first interlude. She's dead.
Yeah.
Get wrecked.
In Words of Radiance, during the final battle, she falls into a chasm as the storms are raging, and for the last 3 years I've been saying no corpse, no death. Just, if you don't see a character die, then they are not dead.
Literally everyone has been saying that. Eshonai actually being dead was one of the biggest surprises.
It really was.
Yes.
And everyone thought she'd be back. I thought she'd be back.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Get wrecked.
Yeah.
I kind of like that just because there were too many fake deaths in Words of Radiance, you know?
Mm-hmm.
True. There was a lot, and that was one of the complaints they had a lot about it, wasn't it? It was that a lot of people had, was that too many people just came back to life at the end of Words of Radiance. That
Eshonai, I'm back! Hey! Nope.
Yeah.
So it really makes me wonder, was Eshonai originally supposed to survive? Always in Brandon's outline, or did he change that when making the outline?
Personally feel that he always had that. So he's always said, when we were talking about the flashback characters and which books there are going to be, he's always said it's possible that a flashback character might be dead. So I have a feeling he he wrote the storyline as it like for Venli or Eshonai, and essentially he wrote it so that it could be either one, and he hadn't decided just yet. And which is why he was like, oh, they could be dead. I don't think it was always the plan for Eshonai to die.
I don't think it was always the plan for Eshonai to die either.
Yeah. But I do think it was, he wrote the storyline with the possibility that Venli would be the one doing this storyline instead of Eshonai.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like this was a massive left turn from where we thought, like with Moash, his character, we thought he was going to be with the diagram, and
super right turn.
Yeah. And don't forget, we also had the prologue was Eshonai. And like it was great character building for Eshonai. You've got bits where she's you really got to the feeling of what she was like before she turned into this kind of, this forced into the war kind of into a position of power in a military kind of character. We got to see her being a bit more playful, being a bit more easily distracted. She likes maps, that kind of thing. And to see that get ripped away was just, it was very upsetting to me.
But good writing should make you feel things.
Absolutely. So... I have less of an issue with Eshonai dying and more of an issue of Venli, in my opinion, taking her place.
Well, we'll talk all about that. I think the part of the thing is that fans always thought, oh, well, I mean, Eshonai's getting Book 4 flashbacks. I still think that will be the case. That we'll still get Eshonai flashbacks to kind of like
no
wrap
doubt
up.
In my mind.
Yeah. So people were all like, oh yeah, Eshonai will be back. And so her dying is like, whoa, crazy. But I don't know. My core thought is I think Venli is more interesting than Eshonai. I think she's much more interesting than Eshonai. By far.
Definitely disagree.
I would agree.
Okay. I'll let you go, Ian.
Okay, because this is getting a little ahead of ourselves. But
should we? Okay.
Yeah. Because going forward, Venli is bonding Tamber to be a will shaper.
Yeah,
presumably.
And I think, presumably. And I think Eshonai is better suited for that order. So, like, her progression wouldn't have been as dynamic and not angsty, but conflict driven that Venli is going to have to work for it. Like, she's not as naturally suited for it as Eshonai.
Yeah, I just don't really, I didn't really feel that, like, I mean, Eshonai was nice. I didn't really have a strong connection to Eshonai. Like, she's fine. I didn't, like, it was surprising that she was dead because I thought we would get more character development, but I wasn't, like, ultra sad about it, honestly. Mm-hmm. I wasn't. Whereas Venli, having brought up the Everstorm, basically, and then seeing her perspective was really interesting. I loved as soon as I realized, whoa, Venli's gonna be the Szeth Eshonai character for this book. That's awesome. And I loved it. Mm-hmm. I loved all of it.
See, so I got really attached to Eshonai because I felt like, unlike a lot of other characters who all kind of... So in Words of Radiance, we see all the major main characters, the viewpoint characters. We see, Kaladin, Shallan, and Dalinar all kind of getting together and like helping each other. And then you've got Eshonai, who's out on her own, who's trying to do the best she can, but she is beset on all sides by people constantly either telling her that she's wrong, that she's doing the wrong thing. Her own sister is literally being corrupted by their version of the devil and trying to stop her.
Oh, that's a little excessive there.
No, not really. Come on.
I mean, she just met Ulim. She just met a voice friend.
No, she fully knew what she was doing. Venli, at the point of like Words of Radiance, fully knew she was bringing back the power of the old gods, which they have been brought up since birth, learning that the entire heritage of their people is about rejecting that god. So Venli was just being the worst person ever, and like that internal conflict of having Eshonai, like the conflict of wanting to do the best for her people, like that kind of that ideal that would put her on the path to Radianthood, being challenged by her personal relations with the people that are
isn't it much more
opposing her?
Isn't it much more compelling, though, how Venli ended, where she's now going to tell the singers about what it meant to be a listener, and the conflict now is, like, you don't need Eshonai there, because the conflict's with Venli, in what you just said, right? And so it's more interesting to have the conflict be against Venli's own ambition, that it's her fault doing it. Isn't that a lot more compelling?
I think so.
I think so.
I don't think Venli right now, for me, Venli's right now, so she ends Oathbringer with the whole thing of, I'm going to tell the story of my people.
Yeah.
But, like, she's the one that, like, got them in this situation where they are now anyway.
Yeah, right,
like, she's, like,
yes,
so she used to be, like, she's it's all her fault, and she's gotten away with it, and now she gets to have superpowers.
Totally
yes, she has had zero repercussions, other than the fact she has to sleep on a bit of an uncomfortable bed at one point. Like...
But I think the fact that she is trying to atone for what she did without there being, like, well, one, her once mate no longer exists. So,
she
like,
was very,
bad stuff did, and her sister died. So, like, bad stuff did happen to her.
Those were both her fault.
She was...
Yeah.
Those were both her fault, and, like...
Yes, okay, but that's the point of this story. Like, she's echoing Dalinar's story. Like, it's all about, like, he did bad stuff. Like, he has to atone for that. And so it's now, like, she is starting on that journey. Because, like, if she just said, like, oh, not my problem, like, blah, 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 blah,
Odium
like, that's getting into odium.
Yeah.
But, okay, so the only bit of regret she voices internally is when she says about how she thought she would be in charge once this stuff happened. So she's not on this journey of, like, I did a bad thing and I need to atone for it. She's on this journey because I did a bad thing. It didn't go my way. So now I'm just gonna screw you guys. I want to be in charge. Okay. Why aren't I in charge? Wah!
We're still very early on in her arc. And
we are, I will admit
part
this.
of, like, her mental state is affected by odium through most of the book. Like,
yeah,
she thinks multiple times about, like, why am I not more upset about Eshonai? Like, that's, like, I should be more upset.
She also longs for the old rhythms and, like, actually like longs for the rhythm of the lost. There's a whole part where she, like, is going through a ton of rhythms and she grabs onto the rhythm of the lost because it's so fleeting. It's so hard for her to see that when she's in these forms of power.
I read those sequences completely different to what you guys have read. When she's saying, I feel like I should be more upset, I don't see her being affected by odium. What I'm seeing there is her being a sociopath, because she's like, I understand that I'm supposed to be upset, but I'm not, because...
Well, it's exactly like what happened to Eshonai in Words of Radiance, that, like, her entire brain chemistry changed when she went to Stormform. Yeah. Like, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
right?
her,
like,
and then her
that happened to
for...
Eshonai.
Did Eshonai long for the old rhythms, or did she just be the...
She just noticed she couldn't hear them she couldn't hear them. That all the new rhythms were way better.
Venli is more aware of, like, is closer to herself, like, in forms of power than Eshonai was, because I do think there is a part of Eshonai, of Venli that is more suited to odium, let's say.
Yeah, of course.
Which is, like, why she, like, obviously thought it was a good idea to bring back the old powers. But I do think being in one of those forms, it does have an effect on the way you think, even if you are suited for it. Like, Brennan has, like, shards, like, affect the people who hold them. And it's like, any amount of investiture will have an effect on your personality.
Yeah.
And, like, it's, with the singers, their forms, just going from regular form to regular form changes your brain.
They change their personality. And
when you have the forms of power, which have this odium power in it, you're going to think more Odium-like. Like, just because of that. That's the corruption that Odium had on that entire race of people.
I don't think she's a sociopath because she does experience those emotions, like that the sorrow for Eshonai. But then it just goes away, and she's like, wait, I should still be feeling that. Like, why can't I like feel that emotion anymore?
Okay, I do feel her obvious. Like I was gonna say, this isn't a feel. This is obviously her feeling those old rhythms is the effect that Timber's having on her.
Well, that's certainly true, and she does recognize that. Yes. Yeah,
and so if there was no influence of other investiture, if she, as Ian said, she seemed more drawn to like Odium in the first place. And so I would say like her personality uncorrupted is that of someone who is selfish, who is narcissistic, who is kind of a sociopath, or maybe I think that's the right one. Just not really, doesn't really care about others. And that's the impression I got.
Okay, like,
and that's the impression I
think
got.
that is a fair description of Venli.
That is.
Yeah, and I don't like her because of that.
Well, that's fair,
no, like, Venli is a horrible person.
Yeah, okay, cool. As long as you guys...
But, like, she's a fascinating character.
Yeah. Like, I hate... Like, Moesh, I hate, but I love reading about him. I think it's so great.
Part of my dislike is I also... Like, not only do I just not like her as a person, I also don't like how her storyline has gone. So I feel like you could have an interesting storyline of, like, someone who caused the apocalypse and has to now atone for it, but I don't think what has happened in Oathbringer is pointing in the direction of how I would like that to play out. But shall we move on to what actually happens into Oathbringer?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. We should probably do that. We have been saving this podcast for a long time, and we have lots of opinions about this, and it's just
this has been a cursed podcast. We have tried to do this like 4 times.
That's true. That's true. We were gonna do it last week, but Carrie was gonna be on this podcast, but her sewer main backed up, and she has to replace her floors.
Oh my god,
that's crazy.
Ew.
Yeah, it was
I'm
really
also
bad.
Really ill right now, and I'm trying very hard not to like.
If you cough, I'll just edit it out. Just don't do it when you're talking. Easy. So basically what happened, just to be clear with what Venli did in Words of Radiance, there was a Voidspren named Ulim, and he describes himself as one of the Voidspren who, like, ran away.
Yeah.
Basically. Ulim told Venli how to get the Stormspren. And then they did that. That's what happened.
I was like, before that happened,
yes,
Ulim influenced Venli and Clade to buy Zeth as well.
Do we have confirmation on that?
I don't know if that's the case.
Well, Clade was sent to buy an assassin. Venli was with him. Clade said there was a voice speaking to rhythms that pointed him towards a specific man who ended up being Zeth.
Whoa. Hold up.
I don't think, I think that's probable. We just don't have confirmation on that.
I find it very weird if that wasn't Ulim's doing, and maybe,
at the very least, I think it's a Void's friend, but it might not be Ulim.
Well, I think there was only at that point there was only Ulim was with the Parshendi. I don't think we've had any evidence of there being more than one Voidspren influencing them.
Where
not super clear.
Which prologue was it?
This is the Oathbringer prologue, right near the bottom.
Oh, okay, all right. I did forget about that. Honestly, a voice speaking to the rhythms had led them to the man who confessed his skills when pressed. I actually totally forgot about that. Honestly,
so we know Ulim's been well. Again, I believe this would be Ulim influencing Eshonai and Clade, and so I think Ulim's been part of the Parshendi and the listeners since before they even met the humans. Or joined very shortly after they met the humans.
Maybe like to try and trigger... I mean, it would make sense for the Voidspren to want to cause conflict between those two people, because they had to have conflict to make the listeners desperate to summon to bond Stormform. Right?
Yeah. I don't think they were actively influencing the listeners before they met the humans, though, because it seems like very much that they have no idea what this voice is that's pointing them towards Seth.
Well, Eshonai didn't, and Clade didn't, but I think Venli did, because I think Venli's a bad
Venli
person.
might have learned much later, right?
Yeah, but like, if Venli and unnamed voice friend, probably Ulim, had a relationship at that point, like, why was Ulim talking to Clade?
Well, Venli wasn't part of the 5 anyway at this stage, right? So
she was just a random.
There would be no reason for her to do so. Well, that is very interesting for people to remember, that Void Spread led them to Zeth. Totally. Yeah. And really, honestly, rereading Venli, she's not in the book very much. All things considered, she's really not. So I feel like your critique, Ben, could just be because we don't have a lot of her, and so we don't see like her like live that struggle a lot. We just see these brief glimpses.
It could be,
whereas next book it's going to be very much focused on her.
That is true.
Because like she's probably going to be the modern day arc, and then Eshonai will be the flashback arc.
Oh, yeah, that's what I think too, and I think that'll work great. I think that'll work really awesome.
I think it'll be an interesting take on the plot archetype that Brennan has done for the last 3 books, where a person's modern day arc and their flashback arc does interweave.
Yeah,
it's a different variation on that. So Brennan isn't always just treading the same ground.
It has. I really hope that Venli's arc does turn into something I enjoy, because I hadn't even thought that, because next book would be potentially Eshonai's flashbacks, Eshonai and Venli's flashbacks. I hadn't even considered the fact that would mean Venli would become a main viewpoint character, not just.
I would imagine she's the Kaladin Shallan Dalinar for book 4. Yeah, right.
I really hope I grow to like her character. Otherwise, I'm going to hate the next book.
Well,
oh boy. Yeah.
Well, even still, like, she might get like a good chunk of the book, but like, these books are so big that it's still not even like a third.
Yeah.
You must admit, Ben, there's a lot of Singer stuff to explore, and it will be interesting to read that.
Oh, it will be interesting to read Eshonai's flashbacks, yes.
No, that's definitely not what I mean. You know, like, in the modern day, there is a lot of Singer stuff, and it's important that we see a viewpoint from the Singers.
Okay, yeah.
It is important in the story.
It is important into the story, yes.
A viewpoint from the Singers, like, from within the Singers.
Yeah,
not just on Odium's side.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're getting off track, but I think also we'll see R'lain, because he's like the other last listener, right?
Yeah.
Venli? Because all the other ones are actually dead.
We don't know that.
No, we don't know that yet.
Yeah.
They've disappeared into the chasms. Like there was
we have two groups of
right.
listeners. We have the group that rejected Stormform wandering around the chasms, and we have all the leftover Stormform wandering around the chasms.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 2 groups of listeners wandering around in the chasms that are unknown location.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. So I really hope like that group comes back into play during the next book.
Yeah, because we had no R'lain in this book.
The ones that rejected Stormform, Venli's mother and Eshonai's mother is part of that group. So I am looking forward to that reunion. That's probably the only thing I'm looking forward to.
See, won't it be so like? I think you'll get more of the conflict and more of like Venli feeling awful about what she's done, because now she's actually bonded Tamber, right? Yeah. And so she can feel those old rhythms. And if they meet their mom, and her mom's like insane, right?
Yeah.
And then Venli's gonna realize, oh my God, I destroyed them, and she'll feel those things. Whereas in most of this book, she kind of can't, right?
Yeah.
And right now, all the people Venli's interacting with, she has no connection to, right? Really?
Yeah.
Because like their mother has like Alzheimer's, I think.
So, basically.
Yeah. And so like she's going to be asking like, hey, where's Eshonai? Like,
oh yeah, that's going to be.
And it's like, no matter how many times like Venli tells her that like Eshonai's gone, she's like,
yeah,
like she's going to have to like keep going through
Keep going through it and repeat it.
See,
and
that's going to be a great scene, and Venli will have feels there, right?
yes,
Yeah.
that I am looking forward to that moment. Yeah,
I think Relaine is going to play more into that, that group more at first, because Venli's still going to be with Odium's forces.
Yeah.
yeah.
At least, like, maybe during, like, the climax of Book 4, like, she'll
Switch,
jump to
maybe.
Earthiru.
Yeah. I think that's her big arc, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's what it would naturally be, right?
Am I going mad, or did Brandon once at one point say someone asked him about why Relaine didn't get more viewpoints, and he said Relaine will get more viewpoints. Like he has a plan for Relaine, and will
that
be
it's
getting
intentional
more.
that you didn't see him in this.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah.
Fair
Which
enough.
I mean, whenever like Gaz mysteriously disappearing for half of Way of Kings, right? That was very deliberate, right? For Words of Radiance.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So interlude 1.
Interlude 1.
We're just gonna go through these really quick.
Yeah.
Eshonai's dead. Meets Ulim. Ulim's a jerk, and Venli realizes this was a bad plan. Basically, that she's not going to be in charge, and that's kind of the thing.
She's still in denial at this point.
The listeners were aggressed by the humans, and Venli, at least, wanted to, not be on the short end of that stick, right?
Yeah. She believed she would be a queen, and at that point in Interlude 1, she is still believing that she will be in charge.
Well, that's certainly true, but like, it makes sense that she would... It's a different way to help her people, right?
Yeah.
In some sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
That, like, she doesn't want them to be doomed and die, and this is a way for them to do that against certain death.
Yeah, like, at that point, it's like, the fused haven't returned yet, I don't think.
No.
Yeah, so it's like, as far as she's concerned, like, this is before, like, the first return of the Everstorm.
Yeah, and Ulim's just like, hilarious. And then Interlude 3, they go out into the Everstorm. The fused come in. One fuse tries to take Venli, and Odium just says, yo, no, she's gonna be mine.
Yeah.
And then Venli realizes that something's really wrong. She realizes a few things. First, her mate's dead, and all the people that she was with are dead. And she realizes that the listener gods are not sane because they're all, like, broken in the head. And she also realizes she knows Odium as god of gods, which I find interesting that she would actually know that. Really.
No, because, like, they know about Odium.
Well, I think they know...
Yeah, because it's like, our gods were born, splinters of one who seeks to take control.
I guess that is in the song.
Like,
You're right. You're right. I guess I just thought they would have lost that knowledge, but you're right. It is kind of implied there. And so that's when, like, you immediately realize Venli's like, oh crap, this is not good. And also the Fuse say that they're going to go to Alethela, which I find is interesting.
Alethela, like, well, the last time they were on Roshar, like, Alethela was a thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Like, as far as they don't know it. It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. It's just interesting that the Silver Kingdoms existed for so long compared to the other desolations, right? You know? Because considering at the last desolation, everything was broken, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I think the point was that, like, the Silver Kingdoms did last for a long time between desolations. Like, because, like, the Knights Radiants were helping to preserve continuous knowledge.
Yeah.
It's like the bad stuff that the reason, like, things were happening worse and worse was because they were getting closer and closer together. They didn't have time to recover.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it turns out Venli bonds with a Void Spren instead. Fused are not Spren. They are ancient singers, just to be clear.
They are cognitive shadows.
Yep.
Yes.
Given to life by Odium, basically.
Yes. Though, do Fused still bond Spren to enter forms? Or does the investor...
There's no implication of it.
Okay. I think that's on my list.
The impression I've got
Brandon.
is that the form the Fused get, which grants them whatever their powers are, if it's void binding, whatever. If that is just like that's the only form they get. That's what they are. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think they get.
I think so, but I just wanted.
Yeah. But Venli, she bonds with a void spren, and she is given basically a form of power like storm form and is envoy form. I want
to talk about that moment where she doesn't get turned into a fuse, where she gets turned into a void spren as well. So she's Timber's with her at that point. She has started that process. She's collected Timber from Eshonai's body.
She actually bonds the void spren first and meets Timber in Interlude 6. Timber's not actually in Interlude 3 when they go into the storm, as far as I can tell. But okay. I guess Timber's like kind of chosen her.
Yeah,
you know? Like in that spren sense, right?
Yeah, like at that point, Timber has left Eshonai and is starting to follow Venli. Kind of.
Yes. It is Timber, though. I looked up the pronunciation, unfortunately.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is in fact right.
I'm just going to keep saying Timber.
Great, cool. I'll keep saying Serene just to trigger people who like Aeonic pronunciation.
And Odium, when trying to... during this process, when the Everstorm hits all of the listeners, he says, "What is this?" And then he says, you hear another voice says yes, and the other one says, then Odium says, "Choose another, this one is mine." So I actually think Odium might be aware of what's happening between Venli and Timber, because I think he notices that that's starting to happen, and that's why he doesn't give her a fused and just gives her a void spren kind of thing.
I would not be surprised if Odium knew,
because
like Odium is a shard. Like he can see a lot of things.
Yeah,
it's actually really interesting. Venli at least says later, after she goes in the vision with Dalinar, Odium. Venli thinks Odium doesn't know about it. Like there were not repercussions for her being in that vision. Like if she specifically says that.
Because
I think that's more of a function of the visions, not he didn't know. Odium doesn't know what goes on in the visions unless like he like forces himself inside.
Yeah.
So like he doesn't have supreme power over the visions.
Sure.
Because like they are a construction of honor.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with that interpretation of what is this, but
okay.
Yeah. Because I don't think at the end of the book, I don't think he realizes how far her bond has progressed. I think it's like, oh, like there's some potential there.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm going to like keep an eye on you.
This goes back to one of my favorite passages from the diagram, which is, "There has to be an answer. What is the answer? Stop. The Parshendi. One of them. Yes, they are the missing piece. Push for the Alethi to destroy them outright before this one obtains their power. It will form a bridge." And that bridge has been something that I have thought about a lot. Yes. And I always believed that that bridge is a Parshendi becoming a Radiant, and this somehow allowing Odium to do something he was not capable of before. And so I think Odium is aware of this, sees Venli as beginning that process, even at the slightest amount, and says, "I'm going to let this happen and see where this goes."
I kind of took that the other way.
Yeah.
That like it will form a bridge between the listeners and the Knights Radiant, and it will allow the Knights Radiant to be more successful. And like,
but the
Taravangian wants to be in control of everything. Like, the Knights Radiant, they are like pesky. Like they might get in the way. Like that's why it's like you need to hold the secret that broke the Knights Radiant. You may need it when the new orders arrive.
He also wants to defeat Odium. I do completely agree that is a valid interpretation. I've never thought of it that way, and that's a really good point. But he also doesn't want Odium to win.
Yes, but the diagram wants to win on the diagram's terms.
Yeah. I think both interpretations I think are pretty good.
Yes, definitely. Your interpretation was very interesting. And it's like, that's something to consider.
Yeah.
I think, well, let's talk about that a little later. So,
also, Eshonai was supposed to be the bridge, not Venli.
Oh, we'll get wrecked. Get wrecked. Well, they were until Eshonai bonded Stormform and did not want to meet Dalinar again, right?
Yeah.
You know? But Venli meets Tamber, which is a comet-like Spren who was seen in Words of Radiance. Totally was.
Right at the beginning
Definitely
of
not Eshonai. Like,
also,
this is a Spren. Like,
yes, he is a Spren. Also, there's a word of Brandon in case you don't believe us. So, definitely is.
It's not how Spren work from the man himself.
That's right. That's right. And you were very upset about that, Ben.
Yeah. Like, it's funny sometimes. Brandon is like, yeah, like, I don't know why the fandom is theorizing that. Like, that's not how any of this works.
It's not how that works. Then Venli's like telling the story of the listeners, but it's all like odium-y, like, hey, singers, you should fight for odium, basically.
Propaganda.
Yeah. Total
Ooh.
propaganda. And then she's moved to Kholinar and is doing that same thing near Kholinar, which is weird because then she's transported to Marat, which, reading it again, there is like no transition. She's just like, I'm in Marat now. Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I think there's we just don't see her.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that is
like,
certainly true.
So it's like there's like 2 months, not 2 months, because like the entirety of Oathbringer is 2 months. But like there's a significant amount of time between those points.
Yeah, it was just weird when I was just going through the Venli viewpoints. Like, we're in Kholinar, now we're not. Oh, okay, all right. But it's, I'm sure when you don't just read the interludes, it goes a lot better.
Yeah.
There's also in interlude 11, Venli lets out Tamber and feels remorse. Tamber's trying to get Venli to resist Odium, and Venli's like, I can't do it. Then the Everstorm hits, and Odium comes in, says, you are not doing the speech well enough. You need to do it better. And then Venli just like is left exhausted and just really thinks, I can never resist him. And then there's this line, which I loved. She's like whispering to Tamber, because Tamber wants her to resist them. I can't do it, she whispered to Derision. You've got the wrong sister. The wrong sister had died. The wrong sister lived. Venli had schemed to return their gods. This was her reward. I love that. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, I do like that line. I like that line because it's 100% correct. And pretty much sums up my entire opinion.
Well, that's the thing, Ben. Like, most of what we saw of Venli, we've already just talked about. Like, this is really late in Venli's amount of text in here.
And like the whole point is journey before destination. It's like,
snap.
Yeah, like the journey is what matters. It's like,
that is true. That is true. Oh, by the way, Eric, you skipped over the bit where she complains that her bed is too comfy.
You whatever, man. Like, that's
like, oh man, she's so broken now that she gets to be a radiant now because her bed's too comfy.
That's not.
Well, I think that's like more that
she's just surprised that the humans have all this stuff.
I know.
Yeah. It does give you something about the singer culture, man. That she's sleeping in human beds and she's like, this is weird and too comfy.
This is way too comfy. My life is like...
Yeah, I also think that's part of, like, she knows, like, there's something wrong here, but, like, she doesn't understand, like, what she's going through yet. Like, so it's just, like, focusing on, like, the small stuff, pretty much. She's feeling angsty and she doesn't know why. Yeah. So she's picking something like, oh, I kind of don't like that. Like, this is the worst thing that has ever happened to me.
Well, also, when you're under Odium's influence, I imagine you're passionate about random stuff that probably doesn't matter very much. Just saying. Right? Then we get the part where Dalinar chooses Venli to join him in a vision. And it's actually really interesting because Venli is in awe of Dalinar like glowing and being a Knights Radiant. And like reading it again, knowing that I've known for several months that you do not like Venli. Yeah. And reading the arc of the Knights Radiant, it's this moment that I think that idea of Knights Radiant is like more in her brain. Like if this didn't happen, that wouldn't have occurred and she wouldn't have like randomly become a knight, right?
Yeah.
Because she's that's when it actually in awe. Oh, the old song spoke of this in awe, Neshwa, Kadal, Knights Radiant.
Yeah, because it does mention, like, earlier on that the old songs speak highly of the Knights Radiant. And it's, like, these are the songs mentioned? Of the listeners, not the singers.
Yeah, which is actually very interesting.
When does the song sing highly of the
This
Radiants?
is chapter 109. Let's look at what the quote is. Yeah. The listeners remembered this as a song sung to the rhythm of awe, Neshwa Kadal. That's actually the only time that that's mentioned in chapter 109 at least.
There was something earlier on I saw.
Was there?
Yeah, like in this podcast, I saw something.
I was going to say, I think, if you go back to the line just before that, which is, long ago, the humans had resisted her gods. Yes, the enslavement of her cousins, the singers, was impossible to ignore. Still, the humans had fought and won.
Yeah, I did see, in Interlude 6, she says, Surgebinders, foolishly, the old song spoke highly of them.
Oh, yeah. Right, okay. Right. Oh, yeah, it's in our podcast. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's right.
So it makes sense. The listeners think highly of them because like they broke from Odium's forces for a reason.
Because they knew the Fused were crazy.
Yeah.
Because they are.
And it's like these are these like great warriors like fighting like these crazy people that like want to control us. So like it makes sense they revere them.
I figured the crazy Fused was a result of the 4,500 years of being unable to return.
Well, they are,
the physical realm.
But they still.
No, it's like every time they come back, there's more damage. Like every time they die and return.
I figured it was there is more damage, but like they've never been this bad. Is how I've
like it's
always sort of
made very clear that like it's the dying and coming back over and over and over and over again.
Okay,
Odium even mentions, "Oh, Turash, you're still sane. That's great." He doesn't say it just like that, but basically,
yeah.
But I mean, it makes sense the singers would do that. Like, even if the Fused were mostly sane, they're still changing their physiology with these odious forms and these forms of power, right? And basically changing them to be something they're not, and just being a tool for Odium.
Yeah, it's also important to note that like the listeners did break during the false distillation when the Fused weren't around.
Yeah.
So it's more that like Odium's forces, like in generic sense, not specifically the Fused.
No, the listeners did not break free in the false distillation.
I thought they did.
No.
Yeah, I thought they did as well.
No.
Well, it was prior to the false distillation. It's like involved with the false distillation.
The songs mention that they.
Oh wait, no, you're right. Like they did break during the last distillation. It's just like they weren't connected to Biodomishram during the false distillation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I thought brains.
I thought that was. No, I'm under that impression as well. That's when they broke off from the rest of the Proshendi. They thought, oh, we don't want whatever Biodomishram's doing.
No.
We can see something bad is on the horizon. Let's cut ourselves off.
I think it's in the
hop out of this joint.
Songs.
It's so when Eshonai's mom talked to Eshonai about this, they mentioned the gods. The gods are there in those stories. And I don't think they would be. And
the gods are the Fused.
They're specifically removing away from the gods and not like, oh, the gods went away, we can break free. They're like, no, we disobeyed the gods and left anyway.
Yeah.
That's if you read that, that's exactly what it says.
That makes sense. I think in my head with that passage, I haven't revised my thoughts on that passage since we found out that the gods are the Fused. I just assumed that they were the Unmade, and so
you got to read the Words of Radiance things again, because if you read that really carefully, it's like, because the existence of the Fused is just a crazy thing that
Yeah.
You learn an Oathbringer that doesn't make sense before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a few passages in the listener songs that after you read Oathbringer just are entirely different.
When you reference the gods, it's pretty crazy.
Or like the days before Voidbringers entered our songs, like means something very different now than it did when we read Words of Radiance the first time.
Man, I need to do my reread of the first two now.
Yeah, you do. Anyway, Venli was in awe of Dalinar being a Radiant, and but then the next interlude, she's in Marat. Cool. And Odium didn't seem to know she was in the vision, as we said before, and she's whisked off to go to Thalen City on a ship. And she's in the ending, honestly, and she's mostly just interpreting for singers, because Envoy form, if you didn't remember, is kind of like Dalinar's ability with spiritual adhesion, giving connection and letting her speak those languages.
Yeah, it's a more passive ability, though.
Yeah, she doesn't need to
do anything.
Yeah, right. That's just what it does. But functionally, I mean,
it's like it's operating off of connection.
Yep,
probably.
Yep. And basically, Venli witnessed Thunderclass awaken and witness the fused, and honestly is just near Odium. That's basically it.
Yeah. Just kind of hanging out.
She's basically the viewpoint so we can see what Odium is doing
and
during the battle.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
he is actively directing stuff.
Yeah. Right. Although we do get one of the craziest lines because we get Venli's POV, and then Venli's just, Odium had come to personally supervise this battle. And I mean, when I was reading it, I was like, oh crap, I didn't expect this to happen right now. So that was crazy. But Venli doesn't really do very much. But she's in Envoy form. She's not a fighter anyway. She's given an axe, but doesn't need it. But could have. Anyway, when Odium withdraws, notably seeing Dalinar be awesome after seeing Dalinar be awesome before, right?
Yeah.
And given that she has seen all of this before, we get this passage. She's about to say the oath. The king of the Alethi had reached out toward her, Dalinar Kholin, the man whose brother they'd killed. But he'd reached the pillar from the Pillar of Glory, spent all the same, and spoken to her. You can change, Venli says. Life before death. You can become a better person. Strength before weakness. I did. Dalinar saying that. And Venli's about to say journey before destination. Gets interrupted. But at the end of that, she does say the first ideal and breathes in Stormlight.
Okay, goosebumps at that bit. Bit is,
well, and that's what Ian was saying before. It's that mimicking of Dalinar's arc of, I was awful before too, and you can change. You can be better. That's the idea of the Radiance. And I think with what you're saying, Ben, about well, she's not good enough to be a Radiant. Well, all our Radiants without their
point.
All our Radiants without their Spren are crap. Teft is awful and was pushed to be better because of his Spren, right?
Well, I don't think,
as an example.
Okay. I wouldn't necessarily.
Well, not awful.
It's not their Spren pushing them to be better.
Right.
It's them being pushed to do better attracts the Spren.
Yes, that's actually, I think that might be the core of my issue there, Ian, is that she says the words before, what I interpret as before she has the revelation of, I made a mistake. At no point does she have I did a bad thing moment. She just kind of whinges a bit.
The thing with this is her reward. She totally does know.
Yeah, that's totally her realizing, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. This is
totally
not
get
good.
that moment. We read it out
should have
here.
Died. Yeah. She totally has that moment.
She just doesn't say, I made a mistake, which would be a really beating you with a sledgehammer, right? Come on.
That hurt the moment of this is my reward.
Well, yeah, she's taking blame for it, right? That's what she did.
That's
there.
a sarcastic. This is my reward. It's it's not much of a reward.
Awful. If you read it again, it's wow, Odium's horrible. This is my reward. The wrong sister lived. I shouldn't have done this. That's what it reads like to me.
See, I see it more of an accepting of her position, where she's just like, oh yeah, where she's like, I did a bad thing.
The entire chapter is her, I can't resist odium, and the end is after odium like comes in is this yellow burning hot that basically makes her feel like burned. She's just this. I made this happen. Mm-hmm. The wrong sister lived. This is my reward. I don't think you can be like, oh yeah, no, my position's totally cool when your entire self is being burned by odium.
No. It's right? More of it's a reluctant acceptance of her position in life, where she's just like, this is my life now.
Well, yeah, but she obviously doesn't like that.
This isn't her making a decision of, I want to change things. This is her saying, my life sucks. This is what Moash did. My life sucks. I'm just going to go along with the flow. Like that.
Okay.
She doesn't...
I don't think there is ever any just one moment where like it's just your entire life changes. It's a small sequence of like, it's not one decision that's like, and everything changes. It's like, it's working for it. It's journey before destination.
So it's
a
actually,
process.
It's actually one of the themes. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you've got me thinking. That's one of the themes of the book is what is the most important step? It's the next one. And what I find is that whilst Dalinar had many steps before, his like Radiant Hood and all that kind of thing, for me it seems Venli's first step was saying the words, the first oath, and that's just not kind of how that works in my mind.
Well,
it seems to me she's accepted where she is, and then her first step to getting better is immediately bonding a Spren, and that shouldn't be allowed to be your first step. Your first step shouldn't be the one that gives you the superpowers. Like
the thing is that situation is a very weird one. It's like because Timbre has been hanging around her.
Yeah.
Like, it's like she didn't have to start that process to attract a Spren.
Yeah.
It's like most people their first step doesn't give them superpowers because there's no Spren around them yet. Like they haven't attracted a Spren. But Timbre was already there.
She's been given a head start. She's been given the cheat code to get to the first oath without actually having to work for it, and that sits really badly with me.
See, the first oath, like, I don't necessarily see it as like something to work for. It's like it's a starting point. Like, just like if you understand at least that much, like you're a Radiant now.
Like the first one is the easy. Like it's not the easiest one, but all the other ones are way harder, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like
the first one anyone can say, yeah.
And it's like there are squires are the pre-first oath, but not you don't have to be a squire to become a Knight's Radiant.
Yeah, but so this is one of the reasons I think it feels like she's just kind of usurped Eshonai, because if Eshonai had survived and being in storm form had kind of accepted and gone on a very similar journey through this book, because we had all of Eshonai through Words of Radiance, and we saw her journey of trying to do the best for her people, which Venli definitely was not, and like trying to.
Well, Venli was trying to do the best for her, what she thought was the best.
She was doing the best for her.
That was a bonus.
She wanted to be in charge. She did not. This was. You can say all you want that she was trying to do the best for her people, but the fact is that she was trying to look to be in charge of her people because she thought she was the best.
Or.
All the best villains want to be in charge because they know what's best, and everyone else is an idiot. Isn't that all the
because
best
she's
villains?
A villainous character. She shouldn't get to join the good guys with little to no effort, which is what's happened. Like
I don't know. So ultimately, from a story perspective, I don't really find Eshonai going through that arc of, wow, I was deceived. The gods sucked. My sister deceived me, and but that sucks. So I'm gonna bond a Spren and resist that. That is not as compelling as I caused this to happen, and I need to deliberately move past my choices that were bad, bad, and need to change to something else.
Yeah, like I don't think the arc that we saw for the sequence of events that we saw for Venli, like being the propaganda artist that she is for odium, like if Eshonai had lived, like, Odium would not have been what she was doing.
That's true.
Like,
that is true.
She, like, I don't think she would have been, like, replaced with a fused.
It would have definitely played out very differently if Eshonai had survived.
Yeah, because, like,
actually,
I don't believe that.
I think the same kind of events would happen where Odium would have seen the beginning of the bonding of the Spren and been like, no, don't give her a fused, give her a form.
Like, he also, like, knows that Venli is very, like, very Odium-y. Like Eshonai very much is not. Like, I think, like, no, you're too much of a threat. Like, you're gone, being replaced with a fused.
Honestly, it's hard for me to just, if I was Odium, being someone very odious myself. Yeah, I mean, Venli, yeah, she brought us back. Yeah, keep her. She'll. I have a role for her. Good plan, but warriors, I got plenty of those.
See, don't forget my interpretation of there will be a bridge. Is that it will allow Odium to do something he previously was unable to do. So, in my opinion, that he would have kept Eshonai around no matter what, because Eshonai was bonding a Spren, which he wants to happen because it will form a bridge.
You could also interpret that as this is the first time a singer has ever bonded a Radiance. This is the first time that's ever happened. And
this sounds like a really good question for Brandon. Has a Parshendi singer ever bonded a Spren before?
We have had that asked.
Have we?
That has, like, iterations of that have been asked, like,
basically
for ages.
Something has been preventing it from happening.
Well, I don't think so. It's just that, like, traditionally it did not happen.
Okay.
There was one quote that had an inaudible thing, which is subject to interpretation, but it felt to me like that was saying that something prevented that from occurring.
I find that unlikely.
Well, we can find it. Do you want to find it?
I was going to say, I'm going to search
no, it's like, I believe that, like, there is a word of Brandon that you are interpreting this
all
way.
right.
I'm saying, like, your interpretation is unlikely.
Okay.
Like, well, I don't see, like, what would be preventing...
Honor didn't want it to happen. Straight up.
True. Yeah. Oh, that is true. That is a very good point.
Honor doesn't want the Niall's friend to bond with them, and Honor was alive. Now he's not.
Okay.
It's
just,
really
like,
simple.
I would interpret there's... Okay, so basically, there's not a mechanical thing preventing it.
Right.
Like, it's just, like, Odium's not a fan, so, like, none of the Spren are going to do it. So, like, there's nothing mechanically preventing them from it has happening.
Correct.
Blah, 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 blah. Having had happened in the past.
Okay.
I want to find this quote.
I was going to say, I found 3 Word of Brandons. The closest one I've got to what Eric was saying.
There's lots of inaudibles in it. I remember that.
There's the inaudible one, which is quite big, so I haven't read it yet. But the one that I found says, in the past, Parshendi were not allowed to become Knights Radiant. However, what I said might imply that could change. So it seems like there was something blocking, because they weren't allowed.
That was my impression.
Well, allowed is, like, Honor wasn't okay with it. Like, there's nothing
that's what I'm saying.
preventing it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's what Eric said.
It's like the way you're phrasing, the two of you are phrasing things, it's like you're implying a mechanical thing.
Oh, no.
Preventing it. Like,
no, I don't agree with that. No, I don't agree with that.
Well, like, yes, but, like, the way you're saying it, like, that's how it's being interpreted by me.
Well,
possibly others.
Your interpretation's wrong. Of my interpretation.
Yeah. It's like, I just want this.
No, I don't.
Clear to the viewers that
mechanical reason why Spren can't do that. It's something prevented them. That something is Honor not wanting it to happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, singers have never bonded with Spren before. This is the first one ever.
Nahel Spren.
Yeah.
Nahel Spren.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't call the singer thing a
true
bond
Spren.
in the same way.
Yeah.
You know?
They've never bonded a true Spren before.
Yes. So that's what happens. I don't know. I think Venli is more compelling than Eshonai, just straight for that reason. I'm a person where things I like to read, the more conflict, the better, and I don't think Eshonai has enough conflict. Straight up. Venli has more conflict because she caused it, and that makes it more interesting to read straight up. That's my opinion. I don't see how Eshonai could be more compelling. And so my theory as to what happened with Brandon, maybe Brandon, I don't know this, but maybe Brandon expected Eshonai to take this role. There was a lot of criticism about a lot of fake deaths. And so he's thinking, okay, well, what if Eshonai's dead? How would things change? Then he realized, well, Venli could do this. Would that be interesting to write? And I would say that worked out really well. I have no idea, but at least it really worked for me personally, that was more compelling than what Eshonai's role would have been instead of Venli.
And it's like, it doesn't necessarily have to be tied into the too many people died. Because, like, I don't think that would have stopped Brandon, like, if he thought it was the best way to continue the story.
Well, true.
It's like, he might have started writing, like, Eshonai going through this, and it's like, this just isn't compelling. Because when writing Words of Radiance, Jasnah wasn't supposed to disappear and die, but Shallan wasn't developing like he wanted her to, so he had to get rid of Jasnah.
Right.
Okay.
So
I think it's like Venli was better suited for what he wanted to get done.
I think I know I think I get you, because what the way I see it is, I would have preferred to have the conflict of Eshonai essentially having to betray her people and her family. I find that storyline interesting. But
I don't think like
and Venli, on the other hand, is having to, instead of having that external conflict, which is what Eshonai would have had, has to have an internal conflict. And what Brandon wrote in this book was the storyline of someone going through an internal conflict. So I am actually with you there, Ian, is that he may have simply switched them because he felt it was more interesting to have Venli do this storyline, which it might have been. I haven't really thought of what it would be like if you just swapped the names Eshonai and Venli in that book and just had the Venli chapters be Eshonai.
It fundamentally would not work.
No, it wouldn't work as well at all. Like,
and the thing with the family conflict, you couldn't even have that in this book, because
no, you wouldn't be able to. No.
Like, if Eshonai like sought out her family, they would all turn into fused, right? Like,
Venli would have been turned into a fused, if Eshonai survived,
Like, you don't even get that conflict with this, just with how the fused work, right? And so
I don't think Eshonai would have that problem of, like, betraying her people, because, like, she wouldn't be betraying them. Like, she's working to free them.
Right. And that's just like not as interesting to read. Yeah, like,
her arc wouldn't be as angsty. Not angsty, but I like that word.
Sure. Well, I think you're exactly right. I think you're exactly right, Ian. It could simply be like Brandon's. What if Venli worked better? Maybe he really liked that, and then said, "Oh, if I use Venli, then people aren't going to criticize me again for bringing Eshonai back, so it's double win," kind of thing. Like, if he really liked Eshonai better, he would have definitely brought Eshonai back. 100%, right? But it maybe, like, that train of thought made him realize a storyline that was better, and then he was like, no, I actually like this better, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I am coming around to thinking that I understand why he made the switch, because again, I do believe that this storyline was written with either Eshonai or Eshonai and Venli in mind, where it could work either or.
Sure.
And so I do kind of, now that I'm thinking about it, I do understand the switch a bit more. I just really, really liked Eshonai as a character. And do you know what? We've gone like, how long has this podcast been going? We've gone like an hour. And I haven't mentioned the bet that I have to eat a shoe because Eshonai died.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, we need to mention that, where Ben needs to make a YouTube video of him eating a shoe.
I do.
or he's fired.
Like,
your pay will be docked by 50%.
Oh no!
Oh no! Your 0 pay is docked by 50%.
But, like, because I think people were thinking that the only reason I was mad about Venli and that I really liked Eshonai was because of that. And it's not. I made that bit because I really liked Eshonai. We have a recording of the moment I found out Eshonai had no chance of coming back. And yes. I felt like legitimate grief in that moment.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. I really liked Eshonai, and I just really wanted to see her character go through an arc where she joins the Radiants and fights. I wanted to see her. I wanted to see her fighting to free her people.
Obviously, like, I wanted to see Eshonai be happy because it is heartbreaking what happens. It totally is.
Oh, yeah. And it's like, I would have enjoyed that, like, her working with the Radiants, her being a Radiant, but I think this way makes a more conflict-driven story.
But getting Eshonai from I'm a listener to I'm a Radiant, how do you get there? The part where they're working with the Radiants, interesting. The part before, interesting. That bridge, I don't know how that would happen in an interesting fashion. I
don't think it would even be that hard, though. It's like, once she goes, like, she's going to... They know something weird went on with her in Words of Radiance because, like, she wanted a meeting and then, like, suddenly, like, she's really weird. And they kind of know sort of what went on because Verlaine.
Yeah, right.
So it's like, I think they would much more likely, like, if she just showed up, yo, I was possessed by evil spread, help.
Well, and just, like, what would her role have been? Odium wouldn't have wanted Eshonai to tell the story of the listeners. That's not Eshonai's primary thing. Eshonai was a good warrior, right? She does do other things, right?
I mean,
she grew into a warrior. She wanted
to explore the world.
She wanted to explore the world, which makes her a great Will Shaper candidate. If you read back from the in-world Words of Radiance about them being explorers, basically.
She could have gone and explored the tunnels under Amia. She could have. She could have done that, but now we have no characters to do that.
But like, how?
I just don't think that Odium would have given her as much of a leash as he gives Venli. Because, like, Venli is my creature. Like, I don't have to watch every single thing she does.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if Eshonai, like, he would be, like, on her like a hawk.
Yeah, because Odium obviously knows that Eshonai didn't want this to happen. He knows.
Yeah. Yeah, like, he would not trust her to do anything.
But then, like I said, as like you say, my interpretation of the bridge thing is that he would want her to betray her people. He would want her to join the Radiance. Like, he would be watching her, and he might even nudge her in that direction. He, like...
When you... I mean, you're right. Odium... says he does not care for the tool as long as it cuts, right?
Yeah.
He does not care for the tool, which is why he, bonds Amram, and Tarash is very angry that Odium would have them follow Dalinar. But at the same time, do you really think Odium's like, yeah, that thing with Dalinar worked out real great? Like, it really didn't, and I feel like... It did not work
out for him, yeah.
Like, I feel like if you had Eshonai and you're like, there's that Spren bond going, why would he open himself up to some kind of machinations of the good guys? Honestly, if I'm Odium, I'm immediately making Eshonai fused.
Yeah.
You're out. Instantly.
Because as much control as Odium has over the singers, like, cultivation also has influence over the singer. They are of both Odium and cultivation.
Yeah.
They are not of honor, but they are of both Odium and cultivation.
Okay. I've just had the thought as well. With my whole bridge thing, I know I keep going back to this bridge thing, but it was kind of central.
Really on that.
Well, that will they will form a bridge was kind of what I see is the key to the Pashendi becoming a Radiant storyline, whether it was going to be Eshonai or whether it was going to be Venli. I see that they will be as a very vital part of that storyline because we don't know what that bridge refers to, and so Yeah, having Eshonai join the good guys and then allowing Odium to do something really bad would have been cool. But then having Venli join the good guys and allowing Odium to be
there to be an Odium machination for letting there be a Singer Surgebinder. It just seems like a terrible plan, Odium. I don't know.
Well, then why would he not have made Venli... He made Venli a Regal instead of a Fused for a reason.
Yeah,
there must have been a reason there.
Yeah, the reason is super simple. It's exactly what happened. That Odium wanted Venli to tell the story of the singer, or the listeners, sorry, because she was the last one. And she could inspire these singers who are like really not good at fighting and are just reawakened to actually do something.
But he could have just picked any random Parshendi and gave him a script to read.
There's something special about Venli. It's not just so she can tell the story. Because he could have chosen any of the other.
He doesn't even need to have picked a Parshendi.
Demid.
He could have picked, the guys that Kaladin was at the beginning, because all he did was Venli read off.
Wait. You wouldn't want the articulate listener to do that? No, let's just pick
do you not think Envoy form?
No,
Envoy form grants
he could have.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Because I disagree with part of what Ben is saying. It's like he could not have chosen any singer. He specifically had to choose one of the listeners. But Venli was not the last listener. There was a whole group of them. Going into that Everstorm, he could have chosen any of them.
Yeah.
He could have chosen Demid.
Yeah.
There's something special about Venli.
Yes, and I believe
that we don't understand yet.
And I believe personally it's Venli's relationship with Timber. I'm going down.
I think it just makes sense that you choose the scholarly listener who was in charge, who was of Odium and easier to control than the one who brought the apocalypse. Wouldn't that endear?
Yes,
you to him?
But that is different than just picking the last listener, which is what you said.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. There's lots of reasons that have nothing to do with timbre. It doesn't need to have anything to do with timbre. Nothing. I'm not even convinced Odium really knows too much about that. Not actually.
Yeah, I could see it going either way.
Yeah.
There's lots of reasons to pick Venli that have nothing to do with timbre.
Yeah.
Ben, I just don't understand why you like Eshonai so much. I really want you to sell me on it. I didn't mind Eshonai, but I don't particularly mind that she's dead. It is sad, but I'm not heartbroken, right? I just want to be sold on it.
If I could tell you why I liked Eshonai so much, I would, but I don't know. I think something just clicked with her, with me, where it was just I found her really easy to support, and she just had a goal that I completely understood and empathized with and wanted to see her succeed. And then the prologue really sold me on her because she was adorable in the prologue, because she's
that's true. She was very good in the prologue, but I just don't see I just don't think she has enough conflict to her conflict is all external, right? As you said. And I just don't those other listeners have to be somewhere else so they don't get destroyed and taken by Odium instantly, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
And there's no indication in the chapter of why.
Yeah.
Odium just says, "What is this?"
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, in that chapter there is nothing.
I really don't think it's about timbre, and if Odium's plan is to manipulate a Singer Surgebinder, the first of their kind, I don't think that's going to work out well, Odium, and you should plan better. That's a crap plan. I would expect better. He does tools, but that's a huge liability.
It massively, like I said, it'll form a bridge, but obviously bridges go two ways. But if the bridge is between him and Honor is dead, then there's no one to come across the other side of the bridge. So for me, like I said, I have no idea what it would allow Odium. My theory is that it would allow Odium to do something. I have no idea what it could be, but I think it would be something that he would want.
I don't.
That's my crackpot theory.
Sure. I mean, I don't know. I don't agree with that premise.
Okay.
With the bridge, I think it's more just creating a bridge between these two cultures. I don't know if we need. There's going to be enough conflict if we actually get Venli ending book 4 at Urithiru, right? Right? If that's the end, like her big arc is like really growing to like break from Odium, right?
Yeah.
As the big arc, right? There's going to be plenty of conflict with her and humans because that's the central conflict of Stormlight Archive between the humans and singers. Yeah. There's plenty about that.
Yeah.
So rip Eshonai. But let's talk about maybe some predictions. What do you expect of Eshonai's flashbacks? This is going off the assumption that we're going to get Eshonai's flashbacks, Venli big arc.
Yes, which I don't know if I'm sold on, like, it being anything else. Brandon has said we'll probably get a flashback character who is dead. Like, he has consistently had Eshonai as a flashback character. Yeah. We're getting flashbacks from Eshonai.
Yeah, and this is
if
the
we
best...
don't, I will eat my shoe.
Yeah,
I will eat a shoe.
I will eat a shoe, as Brandon said. And also, this is like the best way to have like a flashback character who's dead, but get like a different main character. Like, I think it'll play off those really nicely.
I was going to say, my personal prediction is that it's going to be a mix. We're going to get a bit of Eshonai and a bit of Venli, or maybe just lots of scenes of the two of them together. Because I mean, they're sisters. They probably spent a lot of time together as kids. You know.
I think it's. I do think it's going to be. It will be Eshonai, and we're seeing Venli from the outside during the flashbacks and from the inside during the present day.
Yeah.
Which I think it would be an interesting thing. And I think most of the flashback is going to be like the lead up to them meeting the Alethi.
I think so too. Yeah. And maybe like that the moment of them deciding on the assassination and stuff is like maybe that's like kind of that climax kind of thing, maybe? Something like that.
No, I think the short passage we get in the prologue was enough for that decision.
Maybe, but I mean, we're definitely going to get pre-Alethi stuff because we
100%.
We have to see Eshonai exploring the world.
Yeah.
We have to see that.
Yeah,
because we don't. Yeah. We get to see her reminisce about doing that.
Yeah,
and like how she did a little bit.
Yeah. I'm just very excited to see how that ties in with Venli's arc.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to intersect.
I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work.
Yeah, I'm with you guys there. So what I believe we're going to get is I think we're going to get... What I'm interested in is what are we actually going to learn from Eshonai's flashbacks in terms of kind of the expanded world. And I think what we're going to get is we're going to get a lot of their mother teaching them the songs. And so I think we're going to get a lot of songs in Eshonai's flashbacks. And what I think we're going to probably be seeing is we're going to be seeing certain forms in Venli's actual chapters, and then hearing songs about them in the flashbacks. That kind of thing going on.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably learn, like, how did the last Legion break from the rest of Odium's forces?
Yeah, I want to hear more about that. That would definitely be central to Venli's main story, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah, because then she'll learn how to do it again.
Well, I mean... It would be an Eshonai flashback, so it wouldn't be knowledge Venli has, but we as the readers would kind of know that and kind of see how that mirrors, right?
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
And I think at the end of this book, she will be with the Radiance in her ethereal.
I agree. That seems like a very natural thing, which might mean Brandon just like, hey, we're gonna do a...
I was going to say...
Sharp corner, right? So it's not
going from...
Well, there's a year time jump.
Yeah.
Like, she has plenty of time. And it's like, I think it will happen at the end of the book.
I think so. She has so much growth to do before she gets there.
Going from how our Oathbringer predictions played out, I will say it'll probably end up happening by the end of part 1.
Well, I would kind of hope not. She has... There's so much to do with Odium's forces and having her as a viewpoint in that as being, I mean, an important regal, like one of the really important regals, is important for us to see through her eyes, because otherwise we don't get any knowledge of that at all.
Well, it's like we have her
Moash.
in Moash, but Moash has
Moash.
very different perspective.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And he's also kind of crazy at this point. Like he's drunk the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
I mean, we do got to see more Moash Vire as it is, right? But
like she's a very like insider perspective on singers. Like he's an external. They both serve purposes, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, sure. But she's got a lot to do before she can get to Earthru, I think.
Yeah.
I think she
I'm
has
with you there.
too much to do. And
okay. One other thing. And I think that the splinter group of listeners that did not take Stormform will show up earlier in the book and deal with Lelaine and might also like echo into Eshonai's flashback.
that would be cool.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if our interlude character is Relaine, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, it could
I
be
would
someone
like
else,
that.
but
I think he was my top choice for the through line for Oathbringer.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Which,
because
like,
I mean, he would be great because he's off doing something else right now, right?
Yeah.
But
Brandon said there was a reason we didn't get to see a lot of Relaine. What if that point is like he's also going to Bondace Bren, but Brandon's like, okay, but like Venli has to do that first. That's kind of important.
sure,
Maybe, yeah.
Like, so it's kind of
like
I can't show a lot of Relaine in this book.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Otherwise, like it would give too much away.
Yeah.
Like we have to see Kaladin progress before we can see other people progress, because that's how it goes, right? I mean, some things Brandon does is expected in some scenario. Well, like, what are we gonna see? We're gonna see Kaladin get Shardplate, and if we don't, it's gonna be irritating because people are already like, man, not enough Kaladin in Oathbringer, right?
Yeah.
So we gotta see that. So I wouldn't be surprised. Brandon doesn't need to do a reversal for Venli not going to Earthru if that's where her story's going, and it can still be like in an interesting, cool way. Like Oathbringer, we knew Dalinar was gonna swear more oaths, but did we realize it would be so awesome?
Yeah,
right?
True. Like
right, like, and the next oaths for Venli, Ben, are going to be harder for her because she's actually gonna need to do something. So if you. I kind of get it that Venli didn't do a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Because she didn't. Honestly, she kind of did more in Words of Radiance in a sense. And
100%.
But she did some, bringing the Everstorm back. So, that was kind of a big deal.
She caused the apocalypse. It's all her fault.
What else could Venli do? Like, how would we get from Venli hiding her Spren bond from the fuse, because if that gets out, that's really bad, right? To getting to Earthru. That's a lot.
Yeah, like I don't know, and it's like at this point I don't think we know enough to theorize on that.
No.
Like, literally anything could happen.
She could go explore the tunnels under Amia. That's why.
That's chapter 1. I mean,
that's chapter 1. Yeah, there's thousands of Shardblades here, guys.
I don't think that's the case. But,
No.
Well, we'll see more of Venli in book 4, basically.
Yes. Hey guys.
So
do you know what time it is? Do you know what time it is?
What time it is?
I don't know.
What time is it?
It's time for Who's That Cosmic Character? Yeah.
I'm ready to be stumped.
Are you guys ready? Right.
It's been a few weeks since I've done this, so I'm ready to get wrecked here.
Cool. Right. Gonna go over the rules again because I keep forgetting every so often. I'm gonna read you 5 clues, and these 5 clues are gonna be to a character. After every clue, you get one guess, and if you get it wrong, obviously the next person then gets another guess. But they now know one less character that it's definitely not.
Yep. I hope the first clue isn't this character has a secret, because we've done a lot of those.
There's been a few of those. This is a user suggestion. This will be from the Gator Girl. This is her last suggestion, so...
Excellent. All right.
For now.
I
have a feeling she will
send in like 8 now, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so clue number 1. This character is dead. You guys got any guesses? Any thoughts? It is
because
not
Tien is dead. Oh, I should have said Eshonai. I should have said Eshonai.
That would have been good. You have to say
thoughts?
yes or no. You have to say yes or no.
Oh, it's not. It's not. It's not
okay.
Tien.
I'm gonna go with Zane because screw Zane.
It's not Zane.
Okay.
This character has a brother.
Tien. No, that's not my guess. Not my guess. Helleran.
It is not Helleran.
Gavilar.
It is not Gavilar. Clue number 3. This character has a job in dangerous conditions.
Sixth of the Dusk.
It is not Six of the Dusk.
I gotta think about this for a little bit.
Wait, can you say the last? The brother has a job in dangerous conditions?
This character has a job in dangerous conditions.
Okay, they had a job.
They had a job, yeah.
Oh yeah, they're dead now. I don't know.
You don't know? No guess for this clue?
I don't have a clue for this one.
Let's go. Clue number 4. This character is an Elakin.
What?
If you don't know what that means, like, okay.
You have to spell it for me. Spell it for me.
Eelakin. Elakin.
No research.
No, I know. No research, but it's fair to get things spelled.
Okay. First of the Sky.
It is First of the Sky. Well done.
I mean,
well
I'm never
done,
gonna
Ian.
get stuff on on the Dromonad system. Ever
She
in a
specifically
million years.
put, I wonder if Chaos's dislike of Sixth of the Dusk will make this one hard for him.
Absolutely, 100%. I don't remember anyone in that book.
Yeah. Clue number 5 was this character's body was found by Sixth and Vathi.
I don't know who any of these people are. I don't even know what an Elakin is.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm not gonna lie.
Why did I even
either.
say Sixth of the Dust? Like, Sixth of the Dust is not dead.
Yeah, Sixth of the Dusk is not
Oh my
dead.
god. That was a stupid guess.
In retrospect, that is true.
Right, so you guys ready for character number 2?
Yes, hopefully
Yes.
one not on First of the Sun, so I have a chance of getting this one.
This one was sent in by Extesian.
Ooh.
Yeah. The clue number 1. This character is Rosharan.
Helleran.
It's not Helleran.
We'll be right one of these days.
Let's see. I want like an obscure one that's still kind of obvious. Like, Gox.
It is not Gox.
I like how Gator Girl in the comments of the last episode said there are 730 Rosharan characters, not 500, as I said last time. No research, okay? I know where to find that information, how many we are.
Yeah. Right, you guys ready for clue number 2?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
This character has been tortured.
Tom.
It is not Tom.
Oh, man. Do we have to guess all the heralds? I mean, I'm trying to think of one that's not a herald. He had an interlude, right? That guy, that Alethi guy who went to the Reshi. You know that guy? His name starts with an S. Sure, not Cheryl. Definitely not that. There was like a weird interlude in him, an Oathbringer. Is it that guy?
It's not. I have no idea what guy you're referring to, but I don't think
There was
it's
that guy in the
yeah, Cheryl.
Alethi
You know, the
general.
Risharan person who was
the
tortured.
Alethi general.
Okay,
Went north.
Eric, I have no idea what you're talking about. So,
Now I want to do research to know that guy's name, but it's probably not that guy's name.
Okay.
All right, fine.
I don't think it's that guy. Okay, clue number
It
3.
started with an S, if I'm sure of it.
This I can't say anything.
oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
He went to Herdaz.
Heard it.
It's-
Whatever.
Oh yeah, that
Whatever.
guy.
It's the general.
Whatever.
The guy who fights the giant enemy crab.
They're both north of Alethkar. That's fine.
Okay, clue number 3. This character is immortal.
Okay. It's one of the 10. Gah! Curses.
Axes the Collector.
It is not Axes the Collector.
Ooh, that one's really good.
But that one is good.
That was a good guess. I know this is just a giant troll for maybe being a herald, and we have 9 more to go, so I'm worried about that. But maybe it's just a giant troll for it not being a herald, right? And it's just going to waste our guesses on heralds. See?
I cannot say, I cannot confirm or deny.
What's a character who's Rosharan, immortal, but tortured, but not a herald?
And the clue is they are Rosharan, not they are on Roshar.
Yes.
Yeah, right, yes. I guess strictly speaking, we don't know if the heralds are Rosharan.
They were born in the greater Roshar system. They're Rosharan enough for me.
Yeah. I need another clue. I want another clue.
Clue number 4. This character is mythological.
This is a giant troll for someone that's not a herald. Okay. But then it's going to be a herald at the end. So it's Honor?
It is not Honor, no.
Okay. I'm just going to say Ishar.
It is not Ishar, no. Right, so Extesian's last clue. Right. This character sacrificed their son to know the day of their death.
I feel like this is like some like...
Oh, so this isn't actually a real person.
No, they're mythological.
Yeah, that making myths is easy. They don't have to be real. I want real characters that actually existed rather than this is who's that Cosmere character, not who's that Cosmere myth character. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have no clue.
You have no clue?
I feel like this is a legit thing that happened in like referenced one time in the books. Like
absolutely, it totally is.
Yeah,
totally is. Yeah. Well, it's not Parasafi, or I'm pronouncing it wrong. Whatever, the Peak Star person.
Yeah.
That one. It's not that one who made the Makabaki. It's not that one. Mythological one. Sacrifice their son to what?
To know the day of their death.
To know day of their death. Nah, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm gonna chuck some fun little other bits and bobs. They are actually mentioned twice. They're mentioned in Way of Kings, chapter 49, as well as the prelude. The
prelude.
The full myth. It is a Voron myth that says that this character sacrificed their son to the Voidringers in exchange for knowledge about the day of their death. They were punished by being made immortal and then having their arms torn off every day. It is a well-known tale in Alethkar, especially among Dark Eyes. And they are also Extesian's namesake, Extes.
Okay.
Yep. There you go.
Sounds like the information that like I would not remember. So I didn't think it was important.
Well done. Is that the first time you guys have been stumped? I think
that's
it
true.
might.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Well done.
Speaking of, you did not give us the 5th clue for Sixth of the Dusk. Or the First of the Sky.
Oh, I did. It was that their body was found by Sixth of Dusk.
Oh, right. Okay. I forgot that. Okay.
So yes.
I didn't write that down because it's like, I'm like, oh wait, I only got 4. Okay.
So just as a point of order, it's not mentioned in the prelude.
Is it not?
If you read the Coppermind article.
Oops.
Read the part that it's citing that.
Shh.
That's referring to generic heralds.
Okay.
Just to be fair, that's just a Coppermind citation for stuff
generic
about heralds.
Yeah.
Extes is mentioned indeed once in one chapter that is not the prelude.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Oh man, if only we had Windy on here. He was the one that wrote this article, it looks like.
Oh yeah, he would probably remember that.
Yeah. So well done, Extesian. You
I knew it
won.
wasn't a herald though. Knew it wasn't a herald, but
yeah.
This is not an actual person. I want actual people.
You want actual people?
I would like to say BS.
So thank you. Send in your suggestions to who's that cosmecharacter@gmail.com. You can put some funny anecdotes in there for me to read so I can laugh, and maybe I'll pick you because you made me laugh.
And make sure you like, subscribe, follow us on 17shard.com, 17shard on Twitter and Facebook, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, come chat with us on the Discord.
Yep, come to Discord as well. Yep, and always remember, we're getting our words of Brandon from Arcanum, wob.coppermine.net.
Boom. Bye.
Bye.
Call.